Hey, welcome back to the Transparent HR podcast, where we aim to empower individuals with transparent HR insight, fostering career opportunities, and navigating workplace success for all. It's your host, Prince Tate, and you are listening to the 9th episode. Today, I'm asking you to subscribe so that you can get notified when any of our new episodes are coming out. Joining us today is Lainey Abone. She is a vice president and practice director for one of the largest global talent solution firms and works specifically in administrative, customer support, and HR. Lainey helps connecting highly skilled professionals to job opportunities with reputable companies in the Memphis area and has a passion for staying up to date with all of the latest employment trends and keeping a pulse on the local hiring market. Lainey, welcome to the Transparent HR podcast. How is it going?
It is going so well. I'm so excited to be here and to dive into such a hot button topic. So I'm ready.
Look, I'm super excited you are on here. I met you a few months ago at the Tennessee SHRM conference, and it was a pleasure having you. And I definitely, after that presentation you did, I definitely wanted you to be on the podcast.
Well, I
So
appreciate it.
Thank you for joining. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you love to do?
Absolutely. So I am actually a local Memphis native. I was born and raised here in Memphis, but my husband and I like to travel a lot. So anywhere that we can go, we will definitely do it. And in my spare time, I love serving with my church. I enjoy singing, dancing.
Singing, dancing.
Yes, I do a little bit. Don't hype me up too much, but it's something that I enjoy doing a lot.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You used to be a Grizz girl.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about that experience.
It was incredible. It was one of those once in a lifetime opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the Grizz Girls for about 3 seasons. And it was just a really electrifying type of experience where I learned a lot. It was in my 20s. It was some of the most pivotal years of my life. And it really shaped me as a person and as a professional too.
Now, when you're walking in the street, or you're probably not walking in the street, but in the mall or shopping, do anyone recognize you as a Grizz girl?
A couple of the fans, I would say, from that have been very long-term fans, still remember me sometimes.
Really?
Yes. Now I did participate in a contest for Memphis in May, which was believe it or not, barbecue eating contest.
Yes,
And I was known as that Grizz girl that did it. And so I still have a lot of people that approached me about it, yes, to this day. And they have my face on a billboard. So whenever you go into the barbecue contest or whatever that might be, that's where I am. So it's still funny to be able to experience that and have that recalled.
It's such amazing to be well known in your city. Congratulations to you. Congrats. So I want us to get into our career quote today, and it's as simple as this. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. That's it.
Yeah. It's profound though.
Yes, it really is. A couple of things that I think about when I hear this quote is you cannot be afraid of taking the first step. You have to take the first step with starting anything, whether it's applying for a job or updating your resume or even initiating or trying to start a business.
Right.
The first thing is to take action. Start on something. Start doing research. Start applying for those things that you need. But you definitely want to get started. Also, you don't want to think that perfection is required, because it's not. We all have areas of opportunities. Every business has areas of opportunities. It doesn't matter what you do, what you start at, just start in it. Because once you get started, momentum will fuel success. You also want to think about shifting from planning to doing. We know that you got to plan to start something, but don't get so focused on planning to where you never start.
Right.
Right? And then lastly, you want to overcome procrastination. Procrastination will get the best of all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts about this?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we don't have to necessarily aim for perfection, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we are the only person that's holding us back. And so
True.
sometimes it takes just having the first step. It doesn't matter if we don't have the full vision. I know for
Mm,
myself, I really like having all of the steps laid out, but
yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
it's just taking that one step and seeing what is going to unfold from there. And so sometimes it's the drive
Yeah.
that is going to bring all of that through to completion, and good things take time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's okay to not have
Yeah.
the 5 steps in front of you, but at least if you have one step in front of you, that's all it takes.
I like to say it takes a leap of faith.
Right.
And you have to be confident in yourself. But another thing I want to share is you want to celebrate starting.
Mm-hmm.
So many people fail at just celebrating introducing your business. A lot of companies or businesses, they have now what's called soft openings.
Hmm.
So you can get your business started with family and friends to support you. And then once you get a handle on everything, then you can have a grand opening where
Absolutely.
everybody, the community can celebrate you as well. So don't forget to celebrate your beginnings as well. Let's get into our main discussion today. We're diving into a hot topic that is
Yes.
shaping workplaces everywhere, navigating multi-generational differences in the workplace. We know that it's sometimes difficult
You're
trying
telling
to
me.
understand different generations and understand why do people do what they do, right? But I think we have to take the first step of trying to understand the different generations. So Lainey, she's going to be helping us having this conversation and giving us some really good insights on this topic. So my first question for you, Lainey, how many generations are there currently in the workforce?
So believe it or not, there are currently 4 generations in the workforce, which if we're not even thinking about that on a day-to-day basis, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
big deal.
Wow.
And you have our most seasoned veterans, which is our baby boomers, and then you have Gen X. You also have the millennials like myself and Gen Z. So lots of a
Mm.
range of different personalities, a range of different every walk of life you could possibly
Wow.
imagine.
Wow. Wow. So, can you tell us or give us a brief overview of some of these key generations in today's workforce and even the unique characteristics or values they bring to the table?
Absolutely. And a lot of these, first and foremost, a lot of these, most of them, actually, all of them, I would say, are similar in the sense that they want to do well for themselves in the
Mm.
workplace. They want to constantly have something to strive after. Now, everybody's motivations are different, but that's something that they definitely share is something to work towards in the workplace. But from the research that I've seen, along with my experience of being able to talk to different employees, along with my clients
Mm-hmm.
as well, there are some key characteristics that make some of these generations unique. So, starting with our, like I said, seasoned veterans, these are the baby boomers. They
Yeah.
have been in the workplace for a really long time, many years. And a lot of this generation seems to, from what I understand, stick with a lot of companies for many years. This is
Mm.
your generation that has a lot of built up knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, as they're progressing in their career, and some of them might be thinking about retirement. Some might be thinking of, I want to be able to enjoy this and do a little bit more of the
Mm-hmm.
consulting side of the house.
Consulting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But something that this generation has in common is that they have a lot of knowledge. So to transfer
Mm.
that knowledge to that next generation is something that's pretty a big deal. But then you have your Gen X, and this generation's seems to have that knowledge, but at the same time, really want the consistency too. They want
Mm,
to be somewhere that they're going to be secure and
yeah,
know that they're valued. And that is extremely important for
because
this
they
particular
they
generation.
have to start thinking about retirement, right, in a few years.
Exactly.
Because
Right. That's what I'm
definitely,
saying.
they want to be stable and in a place. Maybe they're not like millennials or Gen Zs trying to go
Hmm.
here and there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're the generation that's starting to think about retirement, and hey, or not, if not starting to think about it, already have a plan.
Right. They're not ready to necessarily give it up yet. And
Yeah,
they have some years to still work. But
yeah.
while they are planning for that, they're probably the most conscious around being
Mm,
able to plan for those things. So understanding their motivations behind that and just being able to accommodate for that as well. And I know we went through this global pandemic in 2020, and that I think knocked everyone off a little bit.
it
But
did, yeah.
yes, but that is really important, I would say, to that generation. But then you have your millennials like you and I that are ready to kind of spread our wings a little bit. We're wanting to flourish in our career. We're not
Hmm.
necessarily jumping right into those entry level roles as much as we used
Right,
to,
right.
but we want to take on a little bit more of that responsibility. We want a little bit more of the flexibility that comes with that. And millennials, from what I've gathered, also really want those opportunities to be able to move into a senior level role
Yeah,
or into a management type of role. They
yeah,
want to be trusted in that way.
yeah.
And that flexibility comes with that too. And then you have your lovely Gen Z
Well,
as well.
let me say this
Yes,
before you
absolutely.
go to Gen Z, because Gen Z is a hot topic now,
It
right?
is. Yes.
Millennials, I believe you're absolutely correct with that, right? We're individuals that wants more opportunity, but not only that, we want more money
Mm-hmm.
as we go into those higher level roles. But also, we really just want our organizations or our leaders that we're working with to have confidence in us to say, you know what, they can
I
do it.
trust you.
Yeah, I
Yes.
trust that they're going to do a good job. And even if we may fail at certain points, we still want to know that the generation that's above us is going to coach us, that they're going to mentor us, and they're going to give us the tools and the resources to keep on going.
I agree with that 100%. And we want to know as millennials that we have a safe place to land, that there's more
Hmm.
to it, and that we have somewhere that we can grow, that we can thrive.
Yeah,
And we want to be trusted too, which
yeah,
is really important, especially knowing that we have a long time. And we're just getting started when you really
yeah,
think about it.
yeah.
So,
One thing that's really important to me is having a really great leader.
exactly.
Like, I believe that, having a great leader will make or break your career or your tenure
Hmm.
at that specific organization that you're at. And so I believe millennials, we're very cognizant about that. Sometimes it's not all about the money
Right.
because we've kind of lived, going from or working in entry level roles where we were only thinking about the money.
Hmm.
But now we're conscious about culture. We're
Right.
conscious about leadership and how am I going to have the support that I need to keep on growing, as you stated.
Yes. I mean, that is so important. Obviously, we have bills to pay. We want to thrive in our
Yeah.
careers. So the money does count, but there are more things that we're taking into
Hmm.
consideration in this generation now. And a lot of those, to your point, are the leadership capabilities,
Yeah.
the company culture. And you are
Yeah.
correct that leadership in being able to have a well oiled machine as a team, so it starts from the top down
Yeah.
and it trickles from the top down. So that is
Yeah.
extremely important to every generation, but
Yeah.
especially this one as they're trying to kind of
Yeah.
move forward.
And we want those baby boomers to train us. We want those baby
Exactly.
boomers to give us that knowledge
Yeah, I know. What do
that
you
they
have? Because
have.
we need that. You are
Yeah.
the person. So,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
So what about our Gen Z?
Yes, our Gen Z, everyone wants to know about Gen Z. That seems to be
Hmm.
um, the most recent generation entering the workplace. And this is such a unique generation. They are so
Mm.
cool because we got to think about this in our lives right now.
Yeah.
We are entering the most technologically advanced time. And you have AI that is prevailing in our
Yes.
workplaces now. And you
Yes.
have a lot of these tools that are growing tremendously. Even in my own company, it's happening in our across all businesses. There is some automation there. There is in staffing, we're not just finding someone that can do one job, but maybe we're finding
Right.
someone that can do multiple things and multiple facets. So this generation is really unique because they're very prepared for that.
Yeah.
They have the age of technology
Mm-hmm.
where they have this communication nonstop, and they are the most technologically advanced. So they can
Yeah.
add a lot of value in that way, but their
Mm-hmm.
motivations are also really different from
Yeah.
what I understand.
Yeah.
They more than anybody want the flexibility. They want to be accommodated in that way, to feel valued, but it's not a one size fits all thing anymore.
That's
But
true.
a lot of leadership needs to keep in mind as well that there are going to be different ways that someone is going to be motivated.
That's
And
true.
now more than ever, that's going to be important to the success of a company too.
One thing that I look at that many people really don't even take into consideration, especially as you talk about technology and AI, the Gen Z population was actually developed through the pandemic.
Yes.
Like those years, when was it? COVID-19, right?
I know. I was like, what year are we in right now?
2019. That's when a lot of the Gen Z employees and workers started coming into the workforce, and getting. And when I'm talking about like working full-time jobs, right?
Absolutely.
And so during the pandemic, what happened? There was a lot of flexibility. Not only that, you talk about Zoom, right? And having technology being a really important thing at that time, right?
Yeah.
If you did not know how to use a camera or get on meetings or just starting to use technology, then you were in a bad place, right?
Right.
And that's that time where Gen Zs came in and they were showing us how to do everything. Hey, this is how you use it. This is how, did you know this function? Did you know that function? I can share my screen. I can record. I can even start.
They know it all. Yeah. And I mean, you really do. That is a great point, because this generation, I mean, with COVID, things changed overnight. And with my employer,
it did.
We had to go remote overnight because that was the only option.
Yeah.
And so you can think about, especially Gen Z that was going through, if they chose to get their undergrad in higher education,
Yes.
they had to do Zoom. They had to, or Teams, or whatever that platform might be. But that was their only option, was to do these classes online.
Right.
And kind of forcefully adapt to that. But then we suddenly have this culture shift in a lot of other areas where people started to get that little taste of, oh, this is possible. We can do this.
Yes.
And have this flexibility. So what now? And so that seems to be something that a lot of my clients have even tried adopting in their workplaces, or just working around, because that's the future, and it's coming in fast. So how are we going to adapt to that?
Yeah. Well, we know with all of these different generations, there are stereotypes about all of them.
Right.
And some of those stereotypes, I would say, may be true in certain instances, and a lot of times it may not. So can we go over some general stereotypes or biases that might affect their workplace interactions across certain generations? And how can employees address or resolve these stereotypes as they work with each other?
Sure, absolutely. And it is going to happen sometimes where in the workplace you have various personalities and a different team culture. Some of the stereotypes that somebody might hear within the workplace might be, okay, well, they're very stuck in their ways. They're not willing to change. And they have this, they don't want to help anyone but themselves. That seems to be a stereotype. But on the other hand, for certain generations, it might be the communication is lacking. That this generation does not know how to communicate. All they know how to do is look at their phones. And that's it. I've heard that too many times to count.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody might be, it could be anything in between that. From one range to another. Those are the types of things that we do here in a workplace if we're being transparent about it. And something that an employer or manager can address to do that. I will say a lot of companies have adopted different trainings for people to
Mm-hmm.
be able to take for workplace bias and being able to understand and identify some of those stereotypes. But a lot of it too, sometimes we have misconceptions about things, and
Mm.
our minds are not open to changing until we are working directly with somebody else and we are addressing those head on. So being able to partner across these generations and collaborate together is
Mm-hmm.
going to foster team synergy all the way through. So
Yeah.
identifying opportunities where you can work as a team or a special project or some sort of initiative where you can address these biases head on and be able to adjust your frame of mind to thinking, oh, well, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. I really want to be able to understand this person more and not think of it
Yeah.
as a generation so much as it is the person and wanting to know them on a personal level.
Yeah. One stereotype that I hear a lot, and again, as we talk about Gen Z, is that they want the money, but they have no experience, right? They
Right.
want the promotion. They want to be a VP or CEO, and they only have 1 year, 2 years of experience, right?
Yes.
But again, I go back to, how was this thought developed? And especially when we're talking about the money, it was during the pandemic, right?
Right.
During the pandemic, it was hard to get people to work,
Mm-hmm.
even working at home, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people, uh, they, especially for those individuals who were ready to retire, they went ahead and retired, right?
Yep.
And those Gen Zs, as they were hired, guess what? They were making bukus of money,
Exactly.
bonuses, right? They was getting
Everything.
everything, right? And
Yeah.
so for them, that's all they see. And to be honest, I don't blame them, right?
Right. No.
I
I
don't
mean,
blame them
you
because we
really,
we were the ones who brought it forth. Say, you know
right.
what, we need to pay a little bit more, right?
I think that it was such a hard time for everyone. And I know that everyone was very conscious during COVID. A lot happened.
Mm-hmm.
But right after that, we were trying to, I think, adjust in a way.
Yeah.
Everybody was. So a lot of over hiring, a lot of different
Absolutely.
things. And no, I don't blame them necessarily because somebody had to do the work and they were offered those benefits and those perks to be able to do it. And I will say, too, for this generation, they're very ambitious.
Yeah.
And ambition is not necessarily a bad thing. I
It's
think it can
not.
be frustrating sometimes because there is a fine balance between being ambitious but also realistic as well.
Right, right.
But sometimes it does take having those conversations. And from my own experience of talking with different employees that are a part of that generation, it's okay to sit down with them
Yeah.
and have a very realistic conversation about
Yeah.
what the market is boasting right
What
now
the market
versus
is, yeah.
their expectations. I never want to shoot anyone's foot down for something like that. I would never want to crush anyone's dreams when it comes to
Yeah.
that. But I also want to set them up for success. And if you're not
Mm.
telling somebody the truth, then what are you doing?
Right,
You want
right,
to be able to provide value to their career. And if
right,
someone's not telling them, who's going to tell them?
right. I remember recently having a conversation with a Gen Z, and I work in HR,
Mm-hmm.
and they recently just graduated, and were trying to, and probably still is trying to get in HR. And so,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I have a few questions that I'm going to ask.
Right.
What area in HR are you most interested in? Because there are several areas in HR where you have to pick the right one, right? Um, and the next question I ask is, what are your salary expectations?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about entry level, zero experience, zero professional experience, right?
Right.
And they told me, well, the least I want is 65K. And I was like, wait, what? Like
You're like, wait, am I hearing that right?
my mind was blown, right? And I'm like, wait, how much are you currently making at your, a regular job that they were working in? And they was like, well, I'm making that, but I'm part-time, but
Mm.
my full-time job opportunity, I want to make 65. And I had to say, you know what, let me see how I can help them. Let's
Right.
be
Let's bring it
realistic,
back
right?
down and talk about this. Yeah.
Like, because now once you get some experience, then we could talk and maybe negotiate about salary and even where your career trajectory is going. But I had to have that conversation with them and say, hey, believe it or not, this is the amount that you typically may start in. Now,
Hmm.
if you find a good entry level role at a Fortune 500 company, maybe you can get there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And you probably know more about the market regarding hiring entry level staff than I do. But where are we at with entry level roles as it pertains to, Gen Z's trying to get into the workplace and workforce and trying to get their first job opportunity?
Right. A lot of what I do, and so this is my world, is
Mm-hmm.
contract to hire staffing. And that is a great opportunity. And I work with a lot of recent graduates, for example, but a
Okay.
lot of Gen Z and that generation to try and get their foot in the door and be able to build their experience and to build their resume
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. And I'm seeing, obviously this year has been a little bit tough in general for jobs. It's been a hard year, but we are cautiously optimistic with that as well, where we are seeing more opportunities for Gen Z to get plugged in. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of employers, from my own experience of talking with them, are very interested in the soft skills. And so
Mm.
that, especially in Memphis, I would say every market's different, but in Memphis, everybody knows everybody, as you know.
Right.
And so networking and having those soft skills is incredibly important. And so it's prevailing where we are seeing more of that generation be able to get plugged in. But at the same time, again, having that conversation with them of understanding what other companies are doing in terms of salaries and compensation and so on and so forth, and where can we land that would
Mm-hmm.
allow you to be able to flourish, but at the same time allow you to still build experience so you have
Yeah.
something to work up to.
Hey, that's some really good insight. But I have one more question for you. So, the topic is navigating this multi-generational workforce. How can employees like you and I, not leaders, but just employees, how can they
Mhm.
navigate just learning more about each other, and getting to know strengths and weaknesses, and even just unique opportunities so that they can continue to develop each other, right? My last episode, we talked about mentorship, but
Mhm.
how can these different generations work together and be
Right.
successful?
That's a great question. And that seems to be the question that a lot of people have as well. And some hesitancies behind that are, well, what if someone's not open to change? What if they don't want to adjust to that? But how we can approach that as an employee, regardless of what generation you're in,
Mm-hmm.
is you have to be open-minded about things. Seek
Open-minded.
opportunities, and that's easier said than done, but practically seek opportunities where you can partner with other generations and get to know them, whether that be a
Yeah.
special project. If someone says, "Hey, I'm tasked and I'm just going to take HR, for example, there's an I-9 audit. Well, who can do this? Let's think about this. Let's have someone tag team this," or whatever that might be, that initiative where you have the opportunity to be able to work together. And I think it's important, and I'll say this vice versa, for a Gen Z to, let's say, look up to a baby boomer that has this knowledge
Yeah.
and to respect the knowledge that they have. I think that
Mm.
builds credibility, is to be able to respect where they've been
Yeah.
and acknowledge the fact that, oh, this person has been in this industry for a long time. I need to listen before I talk and understand what's happening here. But also on the other side of the coin, too, with a baby boomer, there is a lot that different generations that are younger can bring to the table. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. It's, you have to think for the betterment, I would say, of the entire organization. I have a water bottle next to me, for example, and you might be looking at the front of the water bottle. I might be looking at the top of the water bottle. Somebody might be looking at the bottom of it, but we're looking at the same thing. And so our perspectives are incredibly important, and
Mm.
it only is going to sharpen each other. And so that's what's most important, is how is this going to help others achieve success? How is
Right.
this going
Right.
to sharpen one another? And there are always opportunities to be able to partner together. And to your point, mentorship is one of those
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's always opportunities for co-mentorship where each generation can mentor each other, whether
Hmm.
that's technical skills or even if it's just knowledge and experience, right? As you
Right.
stated. And so I definitely think that, navigating the different generations in the workforce, it may be difficult, but I think, like you said, being open-minded, and then
Hmm.
coming in saying, what can I contribute and what can I learn as well? Right.
Exactly.
Those are some good things. Do you have any last tips or or even insights regarding this topic?
I could go on forever. So don't let me go on forever. But I would just say that from maybe taking from my own experience, it's not easy to be able to navigate through different generations. But I think the most important thing that I've learned, and maybe you've learned as well, and something that we can provide to the audience, regardless of what generation it is to be a sponge, is to
Mm,
soak it up. And I always say, and this is something that our company always says too, is to listen 80% of the time and talk 20% of the time.
that's
I feel
good.
like you can learn more from other people sometimes, and it's okay to observe and to understand. And so having that mentality of how, like you said, how can I contribute to what I'm doing, but how can I learn from somebody? What can I learn today? And what can I do to carry that into the next day and following? So keeping that small tidbit of something realistic each day of, okay, what am I going to learn today? And how can I contribute that to the rest of my business too?
Man, thank you so much. let's
Absolutely.
let's give Lainey a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for, man, all the good insight that you've shared today, and all of the information that you've shared. We really appreciate it. Before we head out, I always have my encouraging Bible verse that I love to share. And today we're coming from Romans 12:18. It says, "If it be possible, as much as lies within you, live peacefully with all men." Or it
Mm-hmm.
also says, "Be at peace, seek after peace, pursue it, or even cultivate it with all men."
Absolutely.
Understanding that each generation is different. We have different mindsets and different perspectives, but we can all come together at the end of the day and ensure that we work together so that we all can be successful. Any thoughts on this?
It's beautiful. I think it's wrapped up so nicely with a bow, in that we are going to prosper more and succeed more if we are at peace with others, and that we're at work more times
Yeah.
than we are anywhere
Oh,
else.
yes.
So enjoy where you're at, enjoy the ride, and be able to live peacefully among your coworkers and be able to thrive together.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for joining us today. For those of you who are listening, please continue to like, share, subscribe, share this episode with a friend. We want to make sure that you are getting all of the insights, all of the tips and things that you need for your career journey and in your workplace. Also, if you have questions for the podcast, maybe you want to be on the podcast to share some insights to help individuals in the workplace, feel free to look at the description below. You can click those links, utilize it, or connect with me on social media, definitely on LinkedIn at Daniel Prince Tate Sherm CP. Again, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.